Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a big one, workplace safety management. We're going to break it down into a system that actually makes sense. We all see the obvious stuff, the hard hats, the steel-toed boots, those bright high-vis vests. But honestly, those are just the tools. Today, we're digging deeper. We're exploring the formal systems that turn safety from just a binder of rules on a shelf into the very culture of a company. We're going to look at the engine that really powers a safe workplace. So here's our game plan. First up, we'll get into the simple but super powerful engine that drives all this stuff, the PDCA cycle. Then we'll check out two major blueprints that put it to work, an early one called ILO OSH, and the one most folks use now, ISO 45001. And to wrap it all up, we'll talk about why any of this actually matters.
All right, let's get right into it. The core idea behind any effective management system, safety or otherwise, is this thing called the PDCA cycle.
So what on earth is the PDCA cycle? Well, it stands for Plan, Do, Check, Act. It's this incredibly simple, powerful loop for getting better over time. Think of it like this. It's the philosophy for any place that isn't happy with just being safe today. They want to be even safer tomorrow and the day after that. It's super intuitive when you break it down. First, you plan. Let's say you spot a new hazard, and you figure out a new safety procedure for it. Then, you do. You actually put that new procedure into practice. Next, you check. You look at the results. Are things getting better? And finally, you act. Based on what you learned, you either make that new rule permanent, or maybe you tweak it a bit and start the whole cycle over again. It's a loop that never, ever stops. Okay, so now that we have that core concept, let's see how it was turned into a real-world global guideline. We're going to look at the first big blueprint, ILO OSH, which came from the International Labor Organization way back in 2001. So the ILO framework took that TDCA idea and built it out into these 6 key elements. As we go through them, you'll see how they create a whole life cycle for managing safety, from setting the big picture policy to organizing the team and planning the details, all the way to evaluating how it's going and taking action to make it better. Everything has to start with the policy. This is basically a clear promise from the very top of the company that says, hey, we are serious about this. It sets the whole tone. Next up is organizing. This is where you make sure everyone, from the CEO down to the person on the front line, knows exactly what their role is in keeping things safe. Planning and implementing. This is the real doing part, right? This is where the risk assessments are done, the training programs get rolled out. It's the nuts and bolts. And after you've done all that, you have to do the evaluation. This is one of those checking steps. You got to make sure the stuff you're doing is, actually working. And all that info you gather feeds right into the action for improvement. This is how you close the loop. You find a problem, you fix it, and the whole system gets a little bit smarter. And finally, you've got the audit. Think of this as a deep, systematic health check on the entire system, not just one part of it. See? You can totally see that Plan, Do, Check, Act logic woven through this whole thing. Okay, so that was the foundation laid back in 2001. Now let's fast forward to the standard that basically everyone in every industry uses today, ISO 45001 from 2018. Now, the ISO 45001 standard has a more detailed structure with 10 clauses. And listen, don't worry about memorizing all 10 of these. The big takeaway here is that even though it looks a bit more complex, that same PDCA logic we've been talking about, it's baked right into its DNA. But here it is. This is the single biggest, most important change in this new standard, the massive emphasis on leadership and worker participation. ISO 45001 makes it absolutely crystal clear that safety is not something you can just hand off to a safety manager. No way. Top leadership has to be involved, and workers need to have a real voice at every single level. This, right here, is the heart of the modern approach. And check this out. This shows you exactly how those main operational clauses map right back to our good old PDCA cycle. Clause 6 is your plan. Clause 7 and 8, that's your do. Clause 9 is the check, and Clause 10 is the act. It's the same simple, powerful loop, just built into a more detailed, modern framework. So after all that, you're probably asking the big question. Why go through all this trouble? Why have all these clauses and systems? Let's talk about the real-world, tangible benefits of doing this right. I think this is the most important thing to get. Safety isn't a destination. It's not a box you just tick and say, we're done. A formal system forces you to see safety as a continual process that grows and gets better over time. It's a journey of constant learning, not some project that has an end date.
And the rewards for taking that journey, they are huge. When you adopt a system like ISO 45001, you see real, measurable results. We're talking fewer accidents, for sure, but also better compliance with the law, less staff absenteeism, people sticking around longer, and just a much better way of handling concerns when they do come up. It's a win for everyone.
Ultimately, what these systems do is they give you the engine to go from a reactive safety culture, where you're just putting out fires after something goes wrong, to a truly proactive one, where you stop those fires from ever starting. And that really just leaves us with one last question for you to think about. Is your workplace just reacting, or is it continually improving?